All right, here we go. Another episode. All right, I'm going to try to keep my focus and not look at the MLBK props that I'm currently sweating. Golly, who's this guy for Pittsburgh? Jones? I'm never messing with Jared Jones again. That guy is filthy. Destroyed the Baltimore Orioles today. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. I'm going to break down a few things today. Number one, the Stefon Diggs trade. And I did update the dynasty ratings over on fantasyguru.com. So if you want to go check those out, I'll be breaking down some of the updates today. Also be looking at a few prospect profiles, a few that I did this week, and also one that, Odunze, a guy that I won't say I've been lower on than everyone else, but I haven't quite put in the same gusto as others right now. So we're gonna look at all that, break it down, check out UFC Fight Night, and get out of here. So yes, of course, Stefon Diggs traded. That has been a few days ago now that it's passed. He had a hilarious tweet video from Houston where he was grimacing like he pulled a hammy in the Houston locker room. So not great in terms of first impressions there, but what are you going to do? So these are the dynasty ratings over on Fantasy Guru. Again, I moved up Trey Benson this week after doing his profile. I keep a lot of guys lower. I put them on the ratings, but I don't move them up necessarily until, I do the profile, which I did, and you will see in a bit why I'm pretty excited about him. Kenny Pickett, forgot to move him down when he got traded, but of course, 2 years as a starter and then kind of moved on from. This is a new age NFL, and these rookie contracts are valuable, but on the other end, teams are willing to give up on guys way quicker once those rookie contracts are coming to an end, whereas before, kind of felt like teams committed more early. So I'd say Pittsburgh avoided a lot of issues there, but Kenny Pickett probably going to have to work his way back up, kind of like a Baker Mayfield or something like that, but I don't know that Kenny Pickett is a Baker Mayfield. So in terms of the Stefon Diggs trade, many people are saying this is going to hurt Nico Collins. I don't agree with that. Nico Collins is a young player in an ascending offense with a quarterback who just had a fantastic year one with him as the primary receiver. Stefon Diggs is getting traded, I would argue at least somewhat because of the locker room issues rather than his play. But I do think he's a descending asset at this point in his career. Let's look at Stefon Diggs. All right, Stefon Diggs. If you look at that, and you especially look at the last 3 years of the second halves of these seasons, he's really slowed down significantly. I mean, number one, great career. 5 yards away from 10,000 receiving yards, over 10,000 total yards in his career, but he's entering his age 31 season. Probably more of a slot guy than anything at this point in his career, but ultimately coming out of Maryland, kind of thought he was a slot guy to begin with. So what he's been able to do with his career has been amazing. I do like Stefon Diggs in Houston. I think that is an upgrade for him offensively. They're in a dome, number one, so second half of the year, not dealing with snowy conditions, which I do think matters towards the very end of the year. And you have, maybe a slight downgrade in terms of a passer, but maybe not really. Like, maybe not. So, high octane offense, again, in a dome, in a worse defensive division. All things are good there. He's still 31, though, so I can't move him up too high. The guy I do think this hurts is Tank Dell. I know Tank Dell is used as a deep threat, but I really do view this offense as Nico Collins is the one, and everyone else is going to deal with the target share beyond him. Diggs is going to eat up targets over the middle of the field, which you would think is where Nico, that would hurt Nico. But my thought is, those are just targets that are going to be more concentrated towards those two guys and maybe a little less towards Tank Dell. Dell's still going to be a big-time threat. That's why, 72 is still a pretty high rating overall. But, yeah, so that's my thoughts there. Don't move Nico. Could definitely hurt Dalton Schultz. Actually, if there's anyone most hurt by this, it's probably Dalton Schultz. Diggs is going to eat up a lot of his production there, but there should be more than enough to go around. Year 2 with Stroud in a healthy offensive system, seemingly a healthy turned around organization. Should be good there. All right, let's get into some of these profiles. Xavier Legette, one of the toughest evals of this class, in my opinion, in 2024. We have a lot of straightforward guys, the Neighbors, the Harrison, some would say Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas, Troy Frank. All these guys are pretty straightforward in their evals. We've seen all these comps before. It all makes sense. But a guy like Jaheim Bell had the COVID season, didn't really produce in the first 4 years of his career, but then comes to the combine and posts ridiculous athleticism at 6'1" and 221 pounds. I ended up comparing him to Aurelius Ben and Devin Thomas in that type of range. These are guys that produced, but it was like, is this going to fit? They're big bodied. Kind of felt like they needed to go to the right offensive coordinator. Unfortunately for those guys, 10, 15, 20 years ago, finding offenses where the right offensive coordinator was going to hit for you, not nearly as high of a hit rate. But I guess the point I would try to make is 5th-year senior, he is much, much older than his contemporaries at that point. And I think we're going to see this a lot more in the coming years with NIL and all this. Guys are going to stay longer. They're going to transfer schools. They're going to be around for a long time. And this guy could not outproduce Antoine Wells, Josh Vann, Jalen Brooks, Jaheim Bell, and Austin Stogner. Now, I like Jaheim Bell. I like Antoine Wells, or I did. But these guys are not creme de la creme. He was not here in the early years with Deebo Samuel. Deebo was gone by then. And he really was competing with guys like Shi Smith, borderline. He is an NFL player, quality player, but, for fantasy purposes, we don't really like seeing a guy not be able to emerge until his absolute final season of eligibility. So, again, the athleticism is pure. I do think he's going in the top 2 to 3 rounds. And I do think he has a very unique skill set. I love his skill set. I've always loved these types of players that thrive after the catch. And, while it says on his profile he didn't get a lot of, rushing attempts, and he doesn't have a lot of rushing production, a lot of short passes after the catch ability, just a guy that can really make things happen in the right situation. So round 2 or 3 is kind of where I land. He's coming into a class where it's super stacked at wide receiver, probably the best class we've had in quite a while, competing with 2020, I would say, for best class of the last decade. So, where does this leave us with Legette? I like him, but I think there's reasons to be skeptical. This is an all-out bust candidate, or he could turn into a Jaden Reed or Deebo Samuel type. I really don't think there's an in-between. Either this is going to work, or it's definitely not. We saw that with Devin Thomas and Aurelius Ben. These are the other side of the coin to the Deebo Samuels. These are the guys that didn't work. We need Legette with a good offensive coordinator if he can get that. Again, I noted in this profile, if we can get that, we're going to be looking at, a very high upside fantasy weapon, especially in 2024, 2025, 2026, as they expand these tackle rules to being two-hand touch. A guy like Legette has a lot greater opportunity to succeed, especially with all these short passes now. Short passing is, the base of the NFL nowadays with all these zone coverages and quarterbacks, boosting their completion percentages, guys like Legette. So very intriguing, super, super intrigued. This is day 2. This is going to be a guy I'm hyper focused on where he lands, because I think that's going to matter a lot. Whereas guys like Neighbors, Harrison, Odunze, etc., I don't really care where they go. They're going to be good no matter what. I mean, hell, Mike Evans went to the damn Buccaneers, and he ended up having a pretty darn good career. The Buccaneers, not always known for good offense. He kind of changed that narrative. So, all right, moving on. Rome Odunze, Tyler Beaker, my buddy did a good profile on him. Nice breakout in 2022. Obviously a weird COVID couple seasons there, but this is a guy that was basically Michael Penix. If any other read wasn't working, he'd just lob it up to him. Relatively young, great athleticism, 6'3", 212. Pretty much everything you're looking for. Again, he did stay 4 years in college, but he's only 22. And he did break out in his redshirt sophomore, junior season. I don't consider them redshirt sophomores. You don't get a redshirt with all Russ. That's your third year. But very impressive third season. We kind of knew at the end of last year, like, all right, this guy's developing into a very good NFL prospect. Tyler compared him to Demaryius Thomas, and again, he's not quite as big, but I think the profile does kind of look like it does kind of look like an elite prospect. So choose your fighter with whatever elite high-end wide receiver prospect you want to talk about, but he does fit that mold. The one thing I will say about all this is, I'd been in on Odunze as a first-round prospect. I'd been in on him as sort of a guy that, in the right situation could become, a wide receiver 1 on an NFL team. But I wasn't quite as high as some of the hype. I did end up moving him up in the dynasty ratings to, I believe, a 78, which is really good for a rookie. Norm approves back there. But overall, good prospect. You could debate great prospect. I'm not going to have him above Neighbors or Harrison, but some people have him in that tier. I don't hate it. Overall, pretty easy eval in a good direction for Rome. Solid name, too. Rome Odunze. I mean, that's a great name. So I could see Rome Odunze. Can't you see the fantasy article, Rome Odunze breakout after 2024? I could see it. So I don't. He is a bigger wide receiver. He does go downfield. I don't know how quarterback dependent he is. He can make a lot of plays in a lot of different areas, so he'll probably make it happen wherever he goes. All right, last one, Trey Benson. All right, so this 2024 running back class is rough, but Trey Benson, a guy that really emerged the final 2 seasons at Florida State, came in as an unassuming 3-star recruit. Didn't really get to play over CJ Verdell or Travis Dye, which, okay, so college football wise, CJ Verdell and Travis Dye, very good players. NFL wise, Benson not being able to emerge past them might be a negative. They were higher touted recruits. They just had Oregon, they just had it there. Benson probably was never going to emerge past them. In certain scenarios, a guy's so undeniable, he will outproduce the 5-star recruits. But I think this is a big part of the evaluation process. Recognizing the context of their situation, not only with the NFL talent around them, but with that high school pedigree, that 100% does matter. Guys get playing time because they're guaranteed playing time as recruits. We're seeing a lot of guys transfer now. I don't know if that's going to change the game in terms of better or worse for guys getting playing time, but I'm 100% confident in the process of like, all right, this guy's a 5-star recruit. He's going to get playing time. If this guy's a 3-star recruit, it's going to be the degree of difficulty to emerge past, higher end prospects is even higher. So I don't hate that he wasn't able to do that, but no playing time, a red shirt your true freshman season, and then really no playing time in 2021. I don't know. I don't love it. I like seeing that early playing time, but with the context, I do understand it. Basically transferred to Florida, bullied Trayshawn Ward out of the starting gig. He ended up transferring out. The last 2 years have been very impressive. I think the most impressive portion that many of us saw was the end of 2023 when Jordan Travis got hurt, and then Benson did emerge as a featured back for a few games, really producing and carrying that offense with no real passing game to speak of. I forget even the names of the quarterbacks that stepped in after him, but it was pretty gnarly. So Benson, I can dig the production profile here with the context of everything. It makes sense. We do knock him for the Oregon era, but I think he more than made up for it. The unique thing about him is that receiving production, 11.4 yards per reception, did make some nice moves. And then that kind of bared itself out in the athletic testing. It's like, okay, guys that usually produce like that in the receiving game, probably relatively athletic. Look at that straight line speed, 4.39 at 216. That is beastly stuff there. So I do expect him to go in the 2nd or 3rd round, and he just fits this mold we've been seeing over the last decade now, since that 2017 class with Alvin Kamara. We saw Antonio Gibson have a lot of success, the Tony Pollards of the world, Kenyon Drakes. These round sort of 2 to 4 guys. Now, there's been a lot of busts too. Don't get me wrong. Trey Sermon, blah, blah, blah. There's a ton of busts in that range as well. But as running backs are not going in the 1st round anymore, we're seeing a lot of fantasy relevant running backs come in that round 2 to 4 range. A lot of those guys that would have historically gone 1st round are now going in round 2. And a lot of guys that would have gone late 1st, early 2nd are now going late round 2, round 3, and sometimes even round 4. I've wanted to deny this for many years, but it is undeniable. Once I saw Nick Chubb go round 2, even with the injury stuff. Once I saw Jonathan Taylor go round 2, I mean, these are guys, come on, admit it. In 2000, Jonathan Taylor might go first overall and get 500 touches every year. Nick Chubb, I don't care that he had a major injury. In 2003, right next to Cadillac, he's going top 5. So once that happened, we did have to adjust. A guy like Trey Benson in 2000, 4.39 speed, that testing, he's going to be someone's featured back. But, you know, looking at it now, round 2, round 3 guy, I definitely think he has the potential to be a featured back in the NFL, though. And if he does go round 2, I heard someone say Ken Walker as a comp. I don't hate that, but he is in that range of, the dying running back position. Can we get 250 touches in a year? Can he receive the ball? Yes. So I like Benson, and he is my RB1 in the 2024 class. So there you go. That is a breakdown of the prospects. Quickly, Fight Night, UFC. I love this card. And by love this card, I mean I have no idea what's going to happen on this card. There's some fun fights. We are basically just waiting to get to UFC 300, where Alex Pereira gets the fight Jamal Hill, which is going to be an absolute insane fight and probably not going the distance. But this card, good enough for a weekend here. A few fights I'm looking forward to. This one, Cesar Almeida versus Dylan Budka. Cesar Almeida fought and beat Alex Pereira in kickboxing. Now, he's an underdog in this matchup, but that's pretty crazy. Look at this. He had a 3-game series with Alex Pereira. It was a long time ago at this point, but, I mean, the fact even back then that he could stand with him and not get KO'd, pretty cool. This one, Dan Argueta, an underdog. So I've never heard of this Gene Matsumoto guy, but he's got to be pretty damn good if he's making Dan Argueta straight up underdog. So I'm very curious to see what this guy does. 24 years old. Jermaine Durandamy coming back and an underdog. I kind of like this pick. Slight underdog at this point, but she was a championship caliber fighter just a few years ago, and is someone that I'm very curious about. Worried about Court McGee here. This guy's done. I don't know why he's still fighting. And then the reason why you get excited for this, Trevor Peek. This guy's an animal, win or lose. One of my favorite fighters. So if nothing else, even if you're not a UFC fan, tune in for Trevor Peek. You can turn it off after that. Ignacio Bahamondes, very, very good young prospect. Should be a challenge here against Christos Giagos, but ultimately a win, I think. Yeah. So it should be a fun card. Curious what T-Rod and Serge think about this. I haven't read the write-up yet, but I will be doing that over on fantasyguru.com. So that's pretty much it for me, y'all. Might try to get some more interviews going on the next couple weeks, but in the weeks that we don't, we'll just continue to plug away on the content and hang out and enjoy the off season. All right, all. Thank you for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe. If you're on Fantasy Guru, thank you for subscribing. And if you're on Twitter, what up? See you guys next time.